But tonight I want to focus on an issue as part of our Get Real India campaign. The much-awaited Real Estate Regulatory Act came into force yesterday. It looks to save the home buyers from exploitation from builders. But a day later, the harsh reality is sinking in. Only 13 states and union territories have so far notified the rules, and only one state, Madhya Pradesh, has an actual regulator in place. Does that mean home buyers like you and me will continue to suffer at the hands of builders? First, let me tell you what is RERA all about. All projects under it to be registered with the regulator in 3 months. 70% of the money to be kept in a separate account for completion of the project. Builders to pay interest on home loans in case of delay. Punitive interest will be charged. Quarterly construction updates have to be put on the regulator's website. Defects found within 5 years to be fixed by the builder for free. And up to 3 years of imprisonment for violation of rules. Now all that is on paper. All that on paper suggests that the home buyer will finally be protected in this country. The truth, my friends, is very different. Take a look at how the rules have been framed. The regulator is saying very clearly, except for Madhya Pradesh, marked in green, there is no regulator. Even the Prime Minister's home state of Gujarat does not have one. No rules have been framed yet in many states like Tamil Nadu, like West Bengal, states ruled by Mamta, by the opposition. No rules have been framed in any of these states. In fact, there are as many as 13 states which have not framed the rules. All this suggests, and even here I can tell you, that states like Gujarat, for example, are saying that this will not apply retrospectively to projects that were taken before November 2016. And then Uttar Pradesh says that they want this rule not to apply, for example, to projects that are in the pipeline as well. So the question is, will this new law make any difference? Because thousands of home buyers are suffering across this country due to delayed residential projects. Tonight, I want to start with a report from across the country on a plight that ails an entire industry and affects millions of homeowners. The dream of a ghar, of an ashiana, is being shattered. Take a look.
Frustration, anger, disappointment. This is all that's in store for those dreaming of owning their own home. But this could change. The Real Estate Regulation and Development Act, envisaged as a shield for home buyers, has finally come into force.
This Real Estate Act will make buyer the king.
So how hopeful are home buyers across the country now? In Tamil Nadu, the mood is grim.
For home buyers here in Chennai, the struggle and the fight continues for their rights against realtors who continue to exploit them. With the state government that's got its priorities all mixed up in a politically turbulent state, buyers continue to fight for the RERA to be ratified to ensure that their rights are protected.
Till date, we have not had any date of handing over from EMR MGF.
Central government has started some good initiative, but state government has not even come up with any proposal.
West Bengal is in a similar state, and the state government doesn't seem to be in a mood to implement the act anytime soon.
It is not so easy job to implement with the state of Bengal or within Kolkata Municipal Corporation or wherever it may be. Because of the reason the environment, the situation and other things are changing very rapidly.
The National Capital Region has seen an unprecedented proliferation of housing projects in recent years. But massive delays of almost 1 lakh flats and poor construction have plagued buyers.
लगभग बिल्डर जो है लगभग हम लोगों से 20 करोड़ रुपए लेकर के गड्ढा खोद करके और 1.5 साल पहले भाग गया है.
The real estate regulation has come as a ray of hope, but aggrieved buyers are wary of possible dilution of the act, which could benefit the builders.
पिछली सरकार ने उसमें अमेंडमेंट कर दिया था, तो यही ऑब्जेक्शन था हम सभी बायर को कि अगर वो उसमें डाइल्यूट कर देते हैं, कोई एडिट कर देते हैं, तो वो फिर बायर के फेवर में नहीं रहेगा, वो बिल्डर के फेवर में चला जाएगा।
In Mumbai, the situation isn't very different.
3 साल पूरे होने के बाद में जब वहां देखा तो स्ट्रक्चर नाम तक की चीज नहीं थी।
The Maharashtra government has, however, made an alteration in the act, allowing builders to pull out of a project after the occupancy certificate, which means the builder may not complete the entire project. The Real Estate Regulation Act has been hailed as a transformative step, but many states, by not implementing the law in toto, have again left home buyers in the lurch. With Akshita Nandagopal, Manogya Loiwal, Bhupendra Chaudhary, Swapnil Saraswat and Ashish Pandey, Bureau Report, India Today.
Which is why tonight I'm going to raise big questions that concern you and me as home buyers in this country or any future home buyer. The new real estate law is in place, but is the home buyer really the king finally in this country? Are states diluting the real estate law even today to help builders? Will home buyers be cheated yet again? Should states be stopped from exempting ongoing projects? Does the new law expedite action against builders or not? Is what I want to raise. Joining me now is Rohit Modi, Director Ashiana Homes. He's also Secretary CRDAI, which is the apex body for real estate developers. I'm also joined by Anshuman Magazine, real estate expert. I'm also joined by Niranjan Hiranandani, co-founder and chairman of the Hiranandani Group of Companies, one of India's biggest real estate companies. Lieutenant General S.K. Bari, Chief Mentor of Right for RERA, chairman of the Gurgaon Apartment Owners Association, is joining me. And Manoj Saraf, a home buyer, is joining me here in Noida, one of the worst affected areas in the country. And remember, every part of the country in some form or the other is affected by this new legislation. I want to come to you, Niranjan Hiranandani, right at the very top, because you are one of India's most established builders. Is this new law going to actually help home buyers or not? Or are states now looking for exemptions that will effectively dilute the power of the home buyer? If ongoing projects are exempted, if projects before November 2016 are exempted, then how am I as a home buyer going to be benefited?
Rajiv, that is not true as far as Maharashtra is concerned. First of all, the regulator, Mr. Gautam Chatterjee, has already come into place, and he's a very effective person and a person who would be looking after the interest of the buyers completely. Number two, that in Maharashtra, all ongoing schemes which do not have occupation certificate, and there is no deadline of that, it could be 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, all the buildings which don't have occupation certificates in Maharashtra have to compulsorily within 3 months register with the regulator. Hence, there is no
Mr.
exception in Maharashtra.
Mr.
in respect of
in
exemption
Maharashtra,
from
provision
doing it
has been
as
included to
proposed.
allow builders to take out or divest from a project after the occupancy certificate has been issued, which means that the builder can pull out of the entire investment before completion of common areas, facilities and amenities. Is that true or not?
No, that's not correct, because when you do the project,
okay, I'm having some problem with your line. I'll try and come back to you in a moment. But I want,
which are promised with it have.
I'll come back to you in a moment. There's some problem with your line. I'll come back to you in a moment. Let me go to the home buyers, because Lieutenant General S.K. Bari, you're in Gurgaon. There are a number of projects in Gurgaon which are stillborn at the moment. You were the chief mentor of this fight for RERA. Do you believe that this new legislation will be implementable, will be enforceable? Haryana has not even got a regulator in place.
The Law Real Estate Regulation Act, if it is followed in letter and spirit, is enforceable and will give proper relief to the home buyers. Unfortunately, the intention of the states, the bureaucrats and the politicians is not right. They have swallowed money from the previous projects, and they don't want to now let the builders suffer. That is why when the Real Estate Regulation Act has very clearly said that any project which hasn't received its completion certificate, that means the whole project, not only occupation but the common areas and everything is complete, then all those projects can be taken up with the tribunal. Unfortunately, we have managed to get the Real Estate Regulation Act through, which was lying in a limbo in the previous government for 6 years. But now it is the states who are acting as a bottleneck. It is because the projects from which they have taken money, after all, it is the biggest money spinner for the politicians and the bureaucrats. Real estate is the biggest one.
You're making an allegation, sir. You're making a serious allegation that state
let down.
You're making a serious allegation that state governments. You're making an allegation that state governments have taken money from the builders and therefore are not serious about getting the enforcing this.
Absolutely.
This act.
Why is the last chief minister?
Am I correct?
Why is the last chief minister in the dock?
I take your point.
Haryana.
I take your point.
As chief ministers would be in the dock.
Let me get an all-India picture. Anshuman magazine, as a real estate expert and chairman CB Richard Ellis, is that true? That one of the reasons why many state governments are going slow, states like Tamil Nadu have not even notified the act, is because they have taken money from the builders. That is the harsh reality. The worst kept secret is real estate funds. And I don't want to put all real estate builders in the same bracket, but a number of them fund political parties in this country.
See, I would like to look forward. The fact is, RERA is here. Finally, after so many years, I mean, there was talk about putting RERA for so many years. Finally, it's here. There are states who have not notified. There are states who have to do many things. But the fact is, I'm quite confident that it is a matter of time that the RERA will be implemented in every state. There is huge amount of consumer awareness. There are bankers and financiers who are funding this business now, unlike in the past. The financial institutions, there's media. I don't think now any government or any bureaucrat or politician can really stall RERA. Yes, there are states which still have to work on it.
Mr. Magazine, why is a state like Tamil Nadu not notifying it? Why is a state like Bengal not notifying it? Clearly these states are worried perhaps either that the real estate sector will not grow as sharply as before with all these restrictions, or they have taken money.
The fact is that, like I was mentioning, that if some states have not done it, I feel they don't have a choice. It's a matter of time. There is, like I said, the consumer, there's so many consumers who have suffered. There is so much fight which is happening from associations, from people, that even the politicians, the bureaucrats cannot ignore those consumers. There was a time this was a minority, now it's not the minority. So therefore, I would not worry. No doubt it should have happened immediately. But in our country, without being too cynical, things take time. But I am fairly comfortable that, first of all, I'm very happy that finally it is happening. And second is that if some states like West Bengal or which other states have not done it, I'm fairly confident they will do it. They wouldn't have a choice.
You're saying you're confident?
And they will. It's a matter of time. And once this happens, I feel... Yeah.
No, you're saying you're confident,
and
but
there will be definitely pressures at the time. There are certain provisions.
No, 1 minute. I want, because the reality, I'm afraid, is very different. You're painting this picture that they will have no option. But as of today, there's a sense that RERA has been implemented, has been put in place as a half-baked law. Rohit Modi, as the director of Ashiana, is that true? That RERA today will not give me the kind of protection as a home buyer that I so desperately need? That if I am a builder, I can still get away. And the reason for that is that there are builders who today remain in cahoots with state governments.
No, I don't agree with that statement at all, actually, because RERA today is in place. And even when we talk about ongoing projects, which has been made into such a big issue, if we look into the exact wordings of the rules, it only talks about the buildings or the projects which have received occupation certificate. Now, there's been a question on occupation versus completion. And if you refer to the FAQ issued by the Central Ministry on 16th of February 2017, it says that occupation certificate or completion certificate as applicable in every state. Let me give you an example. In Haryana, you first get an occupation certificate, then you get a completion certificate. In Odisha, you first get an completion certificate, then you get an occupation certificate. Unfortunately, the terminologies have been used loosely by the states and it varies from state to state. So the intention is absolutely clear that once the developer completes a project where he is eligible to get an occupation certificate, then only that phase of the project need not register, and there is nothing wrong with that. And as Anshuman said, we need to look forward. We have had 70 years where there has been no regulator. And unlike other regulators, other industries like be it air.
Mr. Modi, I'm happy to look forward, but let me give you an example. Gujarat, for example, exempts all projects launched before November 26 from RERA. That means if I bought a project, if I invested in a project in October of 2016, 7 months later, I cannot put pressure on the builder under RERA. Is that true or not?
No, Rajdeep, that is not even a notified rule yet, actually. You know, it came out way too prematurely in the media a long time back. Gujarat has only notified certain sections of the act. It has yet to do the notification of the balance of the things, you know. So this statement is not actually true. It's not a notified rule. That's what I want to say here, that, you know, there is a lot of pessimism, and I understand why it is there. You know, I'm not condoning
pessimism
the acts which have been
because the
committed
harsh reality, Mr. Modi, is
some developers across the country.
The pessimism, Mr. Modi, is because over 80% of the 25 lakh odd residential projects launched over the last 10 years have been delayed. A quarter of these were delayed by more than 4 years over the promised date of delivery. These are the harsh numbers, sir.
I completely agree, but you also have to keep in mind that if you look at last 10 years, we have had 2 very deep economic recession cycle, and real estate projects, once they get into a spiral of a downward economy, it takes a while for it to come out. So all of it cannot be blamed only on the ill intention of a specific developers. I completely agree that some developers have mismanaged their projects, their companies, and have squandered the trust and the advances given by the consumers. But that doesn't hold true, you know, across the country.
Can I bring you in, Manoj Saraf, because you are a home buyer from Noida. You are affected. Your project, it is Noida where many projects have not taken off. What do you want to say? Do you believe today under RERA you have the teeth now to take on the builder, or yes or no?
No. RERA in spirit is a wonderful initiative by the central government, but as you have rightly said, that the UP government has made certain changes, like the projects which are in the pipeline or which has been started prior to the effectiveness of this RERA Act will not be covered under that act.
So today, if I'm a home buyer in Noida who is still waiting for possession of his flat after having paid large amounts of installments, will I be covered under RERA or not?
That is the concern. See, in 2009, we have invested our money in JP's project in sector 151, that is JP Aman. They promised us to deliver the project in 2012. Now we are talking to each other in 2017. Even after 5 years of the given deadline, there is no certainty as to when the project would be delivered.
Can you put, does JP therefore come under the scanner of RERA or not?
It should.
But it doesn't, according to you, under the exemption that the UP government has gone and given.
Correct.
You know, the UP government has incorporated a clause that seeks to exclude projects that have applied for but not received completion projects where conveyance deed has been executed with 60% buyers, and incomplete projects are exempted. That's why, Niranjan Hiranandani, there is skepticism. Yes, it's a good move, RERA, but will RERA actually change the ground reality for Noida buyers? Or let's say if I'm in a Chennai where the new law has not even been notified. Or a Karnataka where again the same problem is there, the law is not notified. So Congress, BJP, all the political parties, AIDMK, all seem to be on the same page, sir. Mr. Hiranandani? Can you hear me, Mr.
Hiranandani? Let me tell you that I agree with the skepticism that you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. The really tough, the regulator within 3 months, all those which
we're still having some trouble. It's very unfortunate that we are having this trouble with the line with you, sir. We want to hear from you, but unfortunately, we are not getting the line that we want. Lieutenant General S.K. Bari, while we try and fix that line, are we exaggerating the skepticism? The fact is, the government of the day at least has come up with legislation which may make it easier, which may give greater protection for home buyers in the future.
Rajdeep, the Real Estate Regulation Act, the passage of it, we were very much involved in it. And it was that the completion certificate must be obtained, and those projects which haven't got a completion certificate will be brought under the ambit of the tribunal. The reason why builders don't want completion certificate is that they don't hand over the title of the land to the RWA. And if in a while the FAR goes up, the builder can build either another tower or add floors to the towers. We have got, I'm staying in a condominium here in Gurgaon. The roof rights of the tower are not with the home buyers. That means he's kept the door open to build additional floors. He's not told us that you own the land beyond the footprint of the tower that I live in. That means he's kept the land also all under his control. This is the trouble why they don't want to want a completion certificate. They only want to take a occupation certificate and say you live in it, the rest of it leave it to us. That is the trouble.
Mr. Modi, are there enough loopholes that have been exploited? Parking space, for example, has been one major loophole in the past. You promise a certain amount of parking space, that is not delivered, or that space is used for other purposes, or the other problem is you take money from an investor and then use the money not on the project which you have promised you will be building, but on a second project which is still which has overruns. Is there a fear, sir, that will builders change as a result of RERA? Builders have acquired, unfortunately, a bad reputation in recent years. Will RERA force builders to be more transparent?
Yeah, Rajdeep, unfortunately, yes, the developers have acquired a reputation, unsavory one. I would agree with you on that. But to answer to your last query that you raised, under the RERA Act and the rules across the country, 70% of the receipt from the customers will be in a special account to be utilized only towards the project cost, which has been very clearly defined as land and construction physical development on site. So this would ensure that there is no diversion of funds from project A to project B, which itself will solve going forward more than 95% of the problems related to the delays. But I would like to highlight a point here. As a developer and as a representative of developer community, we would have loved nothing more than to have all the rules, regulations and regulator and the website up about 1 month before 1st of May. But the states, even though they had 1 whole year, have not done that. Please understand that we are equal sufferers of this. I can tell you developers across the country are burning midnight oil, getting all the data, all the documents in place. We also have a problem that Act is in place in the country from 1st of May, but if the state rules are not in place, what happens in that void? Because Act is applicable. In this interim period, what happens? How am I supposed to behave? Am I supposed to advertise? What should be the draft of my agreement? So we are also aggrieved.
Why have the states failed? Mr. Hiranandani, that is precisely the question I want to take to you. Why have state governments failed to implement the spirit of RERA? It's not about the letter, it's the spirit of a law that is designed to protect homeowners while also encourage builders to expand in a transparent manner. Why have so many state governments failed in this regard? Is it because, as is being alleged at the outset, there is collusion? that Lieutenant General Bari spoke about collusion between state governments and builders. Builders don't want to come under certain legislations. I've just got a tweet from someone in Hyderabad who says, my builder made various promises to me. He has failed to implement them. What hope do I have today? And he says the builder is politically connected.
Rajiv, the point is, I think, Rajiv, the major problem over here is really to wait this 3 months period out by the time the regulation comes into place throughout all the states. As far as we can see in Maharashtra and Mumbai, you will not have the kind of problem which you are talking about where the states have not filed the regulation. But I agree with you. It is the job of the states to have done it in each and every state of this country by 1st of May. Today, for instance, if some of the states have not brought in the rules, we are, in fact, the developers are in a quandary because they will have to continue the construction and development and keep up the commitments but still not be able to market and sell because they will have a problem with the regulator because under the law they cannot do it. So I think there is a problem where the states are not following the rules or have not yet published the rules or regulations or not put up the website. I do believe that the biggest problem is in Noida and in those parts of North India much more than any other part of the country. But we really certainly will not see this kind of problem in Maharashtra and Mumbai. You will be very happy to note that the regulator's website was on 4 days before the whole act was to be brought in force, and today it is fully effective and operational, and things have already been started to be launched onto the website. So we will not have a problem in Mumbai state. But yes, one thing is certain, the interim period between now and 3 months, there is going to be an issue because many, the ongoing schemes do have time up to 3 months time for the purpose of implementation. My worry is different. I'm wondering what is going to happen in those states where even after 3 months, they do not have the efficacy of putting up the rules and not having the website and other facilities into place. I do not know whether this is because of some motive or otherwise, but as far as certain states are concerned, I don't think you need to worry.
Therefore, then you will have two Indias almost. You will have an Uttar Pradesh where you're worried. There's a new government there of Yogi Adityanath. It was the previous government, many believe, Akhilesh Yadav and Mayawati's government were openly accused of being hand in glove with builders, particularly in Noida. Are you more hopeful, or do you believe when it comes to builders, everyone is the same? Because Yogi Adityanath has made it very clear he's going to relook at the entire Real Estate Regulatory Act in the context of Uttar Pradesh.
Well, Rajdeep, in fact, should we, all the home buyers, not get what has been promised by the builders some 7-8 years back?
That's your basic plea.
Right.
No, now, so what do you want the Yogi Adityanath to do? What do you want your politicians to do, for example?
They should make the amendments in the RERA Act what they have, what has been enforced with effect from 1st May. If they have made certain changes that those projects which has already started some 7-8 years back would not be covered under this act, they should make the changes.
Anshuman magazine, what can be done to protect people like Mr. Sarafia, people who have invested their hard-earned earnings, were promised that they would be given the apartment in which year? 2012, you said.
Yeah.
2012, and it is 2017, they haven't got it. What do you believe is the solution? Do you believe that people like him will be protected, or it will have absolutely no retrospective effect in cases like this?
The bitter truth is, in some cases, people will suffer because, you know, there are people, while we may debate, and there are people who have not got houses, so they're not investors. Some people invested, they've not got it separate. It's worse when someone, that was his only house, and he's waiting for 7 years, and I know of cases people have really suffered. Unfortunately, a lot of those cases, whatever the government would do, would also depend on that development. So if the developer has gone, for example, bankrupt and that project has failed, it's extremely difficult to do something unless until the consumers get through. There's some financing which government subsidizes. It's very difficult. But if there is a development where there is a possibility the developer is there, maybe the government should try to give some subsidized funding to complete some of those houses, especially in the cases where the person really doesn't have any other house and he's dependent on that one house. It is a very difficult situation for what has happened in the past. I feel there will be still some consumers which unfortunately will be stuck with their investments, but the others, for larger projects, the government should really make sure that somehow they can give some kind of funding to complete those projects, because there's no way in any other way that some of those projects can be completed. The other thing I really believe is that going forward, it's the market forces besides RERA which will determine what will happen. I don't think that developers, anybody in this business, can go on the way the things were going in the past, because even when today when the market is slow, the developer who has a reputation of delivering projects is doing sales, and the other developers are suffering. So the consumer awareness, the consumer groups, the media, the bankers, the whole market is changing. The transparency levels have increased. What I've seen this market for 22 years is really in a completely different place today. It's not where it should be. Lots needs to be done. We are in a better place, but I think it will take another couple of years before we really get to a place where we should be, where the consumer will be protected.
Well, obviously the next 2 years are critical. There is a new act in place. Will this new act really, in a sense, ensure transparency and accountability and protect home buyers, is the big question. I thank all my panelists for joining us. We will continue tracking this story. We will go to different states across this country. So if you are in a state where you have had an issue with a builder, do write into me, and we will send our reporters to continuously report on this story, because we believe this is a real issue that should concern real people. My take, where do we stand? The fact that over 80% of the 25 lakh odd residential projects launched in the last 10 years have been delayed is enough of a wake-up call for our decision makers to have framed a new real estate law. But legislation without enforcement will have little meaning to thousands of home buyers in India. That even states like the Prime Minister's home state of Gujarat have diluted the new act is even more worrisome. It's time now for all stakeholders to come together, put the home buyer first while encouraging the expansion of the housing sector. Set a deadline by which all states must have a regulator in place, and make sure that every case is settled within the limit prescribed by law. Only then will home buyers truly have a Chedin.